Having said that, why are we also now here? I'm not going to play about it. We know the age we live in. We live in an age now where everything is chaotic. Parents Awareness Day. You should be aware of the age you're raising children. A child met me last week. Now listen to this. Whether you're an old parent or a new parent, please listen to this. The heart of a child is like a garden. The heart of a child is like a garden that has been mowed. Now, when you leave the garden because you've taken care of it, after 2 weeks, if you go back, the garden would have been like, there would have been thorns all over the garden. You might have to work on it again. It is not enough that you led your child to Christ. It is not enough that you do Bible study with your child every day for 1 week or for 1 year. It's a continuous thing, because the spirit is actually a garden. The spirit is actually a garden. So you have to keep planting and you have to keep uprooting. You have to keep planting and you have to keep uprooting. It's very important. The heart of your child is like a garden. Now let me share what happened and why for me it was important we have to call back this Parents Awareness Day again. COVID had not allowed us to meet physically like we should, but the Lord put a burden upon us that we should start it again. Last week, a child that had been in Word Center almost all her life, almost all, but as she's grown now, she's working. She came to me. She's in her 20s right now. She said, Chaneka, there's something I need to share with you, and I'm sharing this with you because you can understand. She said, Chaneka, I planned to commit suicide 2 weeks ago. And this shouldn't shock you. Like, hey, maybe this child knows God. No. They live in a real world. We all live in a real world. When challenges come, she said, I plan to, that things have become, and this child knows God. She said, Chaneka, last 2, like, things have been so hard that I went and I bought sniper. I bought sniper and I kept in the bedroom. I said, in case I decide to take it on. She said, Chaneka, but for some reason, I was confused. Like, I don't even know what to do with a sniper. She said, I was confused. I didn't know what to do with a sniper. And then I started asking myself, do I pour it into my food? Do I drink it? Or do I mix it with water? She said that for a very long time, she didn't know what to do. She said, Chaneka. And I looked at it again and I said, well, so she said, something inside of me told me, but you know you cannot kill yourself. She said, then I kept the sniper. But I said, let me keep it in my bedroom in case I decide to, that I bought it and kept. She said after the Spirit of God ministered to her or something, I can't remember the whole story because of time. She said then 2 days later or some days later, she went, took it and she threw it away. Now this is a child. I'm telling you, this child was in Word Center from the first of the first set of children we have. Now if a child that has gone so deep into God, if a child that has gone so deep into God, and I know her parents, they're also strong Christians, if she could attempt this, our children are under a lot of pressure. So I need to understand. Now you might say, oh, that is, if I tell you the things I hear, children that have passed through the Word Center, these things are real. And I always keep telling parents, because the water is calm, that does not mean there's no crocodile in the water. They live in a real world. Challenges are real. Now, do you know what was able to restrain that child? Because there was something stronger. She had the spirit of might inside of her. She had the spirit of might inside of her. There's something that has been deposited. But whether she attempted, she attempted. She said, Chaneka, I bought. She said, Chaneka, I can only tell you because if I tell my mom will be dramatic. But I trust you. And I understood. And I had to start talking to her. We went on and on. These things are real. Your child might be 8. Your child is going to be 18. Your child might be 12. Your child is going to be 24. So now this child was with us from, I think, when she was 8 or 10. She was with us for almost 6 years. Now she knows God. I know that one. She works in church and all of that. But life is real. Now, her ability to have been able to withhold was because her parents had poured in strength into her. Word Center had poured in strength into her. She is also pouring in strength into herself. This is one example. Another parent told me last December, an old Word Center parent, that her daughter also almost committed suicide. Look, this is 2021. We're not yet in 2027. We're not yet in 2029. We're not yet in 2024. Life is real. So what you're doing in the Word Center, it might not make sense to you right now. But that's why I want to encourage you. What we do with the children is to put in strength, to put in capacity, to prepare them for a time that we cannot see, to prepare them for a time that we do not know, to put enough capacity that even when they get lost in the midst of life, God will find them. So let's not take it for granted. Now, like every other thing, spiritual principles, spiritual investment does not show immediately. It's like a foundation. When you want to build a deep house, the foundation goes inwards, but you cannot see it. But be rest assured that the foundation is what will keep the house. So what you're doing when you come to the word center, when you do Bible study, when they say watch video, when you do all of this, is what you're actually doing is that you're actually building spiritual capacity. So don't expect to see magic. Oh, this child, you've been going to this word center, you do Bible study, you're not changing. Ask yourself, since you started going to church, how many times have you changed? If pastor has been following you up and down, pastor would have thrown you out of church, let's be honest. So it's beyond character. Character and all of that will form when they know who they are totally in Christ. But I'm talking about capacity for tomorrow. So in view of that, I'm going to just share, okay, like maybe in another 10 minutes, I need to show you some things so you understand parents' awareness. When you are aware, then you will do the needful. When you are aware, you will do the needful. Now, all of the things you want the children to do, everybody wants their child to be a super, I hope I'm not frozen, and I hope I've not been thrown out.
Yeah, we lost.
Okay, yeah, can you, am I sharing? Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, good. Please, in case I get frozen, I need to know because our network is not being very stable. Now, this is, okay, let me show this. I just want to show you a few slides. Now, what we're doing today is to encourage our parents, okay? What we're doing today is nothing but to encourage you so you know why you are here. This is not what I want to show. Please, give me a second. No, this is not it. Just give me a second. A second. I think this is the slide. Right now, I don't know the slide. I'm sure. Okay, good. Okay, now I need you to know, like I said before, am I sharing? Can you see the responsibilities and commitments? That's the main screen I want to share. Can you see that?
Yes.
Good. So I need you to know what we owe our children. And when I say our children, I mean your children that are also our spiritual children. When you signed your children up to the Word Center, whether for God Finishing School or Children Bible School.
Hello,
that's exactly what I'm trying to do, but I don't know why. Okay.
Flash your number, it's not showing the first part.
Okay, yeah, fine, we're here. Good.
Okay, yeah, that's good.
Okay, good. So what I want you to know is that this is our responsibility. The Word Center teachers and your responsibility. We're in this together. For every child, remember I said something again. Once you signed up your children, their DNA, their spiritual DNA has two. Your own, our own, and probably it's from the school teachers. We don't know about that. But we know that it's our commitment, okay? So these are the responsibilities that you know. Pastoral care. Every 21st century child that you carry, pastoral care is a must. Don't leave it for Sunday school teachers. No. Because Sunday school, you know, now everything is even visual. So it's even getting worse. Spiritual discipline and habits. And do you know why this is important to me and to you? So that when we say all this, do your God's corner, do your reading plan, you understand why we're doing this. Spiritual habits. Every 21st century child must have a spiritual habit. If you don't, there's nothing for them to hold on to. There's spiritual training. Part of what we do every week when we say do your journal, do this, is spiritual training for tomorrow. Some of our children that I said survive some of this is because they've been trained to do some spiritual exercises. Like that girl told me that she went into Chetaneka. To be honest with you, I went into prayer and fasting. Now this is what happens. When you don't put spiritual training and structure in the life of the children, which is what we try to do here, so that you understand why we give you all this homework, tell them to do this. It's not because we're not looking for activity. No. What we're trying to do is to put spiritual discipline and structure and habits so that they are able to climb the spiritual wall. Now look at these people. This is what happens. When you're trying to grow spiritually, when you don't have a wedge, this is what happens to all our children. When you don't have a wedge, what happens is that automatically you're going to fall. That's why so many Christians climb and then they fall. So many Christians climb and then they fall. Because there's no spiritual wedge. There's no system. There's no structure. So what we do here, which is what we want you to do with us, is to put a wedge. When we do Saturday Bible class, is a wedge. Watch the video during the week is a wedge. Do your journal is a wedge. Go to your God's corner. When you give them spiritual wedges, they are now able to hold on to something. And it is something you must do. Don't get tired. I want to encourage you. So many of the children that still come back to me after 7 years of having left Word Center is because they were spiritual wedges. Once the child has a spiritual wedge, they're able to hold on to something to climb. God's corner, all of these things, okay? So remember, the first thing is that you're your child's spiritual teacher. Hence, I said you cannot override it. God will not even override it. You're your child's spiritual teacher, okay? And then as a child's spiritual teacher, what we focus on here is productivity, not activity. I want you to please work with us. We're focusing on productivity and not activity. So every work, everything we give you from the Word Center is not activity. We're looking at productivity because we're trying to bring a spiritual training. We contact the supernatural before the physical. And then we engage the supernatural. Now, our goal as a ministry is that the children will have encounter with the Father, the Son, the Spirit, and the Word. That's our goal as a ministry. That they must have not that they have an encounter with only the Word. You can't have an encounter with the Word if you've not had an encounter with the Spirit. It is the Spirit that opens up the Word. So we need you to please work with us here. Now, I'm wrapping up here, but this is very important. Every single thing we do with your children, which every 21st century parent must do. Remember, this is parents' awareness. Every single thing we do with your children, which every 21st century parents must do, this is the standard for parenting. If you can parent with this standard, be rest assured, whether the child is 30, 40, or 70, you have done your part, God will do his own part. What is the standard? Now, the word which I need you to, especially for the new parents, I know this is a refresher for the old parents, but for the new parents, every single thing you see us do every Saturday to Tuesday is based on this. So that it's not activity to you, okay? So that you can now do it with the Spirit behind the word. This is the standard for parenting. This is the spiritual standard for parenting. If you can get this right and you work with us, we would have done our part, and then God will do his part. Your children will not stray, because God is looking for armies that he wants to build. He doesn't even have enough. So you can't imagine that you invest so much spiritual energy and spiritual stuff into them and they will get lost. They will not get lost. God is not a waster. So once we invest in them, be rest assured. So the first thing is that first you have to be somebody that would have somebody of the word. You can't just take your child and say, come, let's have Bible study, and then you open. No. If you don't have Bible study because of your children, because you've enrolled them into this commission, you must have your own personal quiet time, because you can't teach from your head. And that is why I'm saying that dropping them in Word Center is not automatic, because we have to work together. So this is the command for spiritual parenting. This word which I tell you today must first be in your heart. Then teach it diligently to your children. Teach it diligently. So you have to break it down. And that's why we take our time to break the words down. We teach it in class. We send videos. We send videos Monday to Friday, because sometimes when you send a long video, the children is not diligently taught. So when we send all of those videos, two minutes video throughout the week, it's because we want to teach it diligently. So you have to now take your time to ensure that if a video is sent, that they watch the video. Another way that you can teach it diligently is make sure you have a family Bible study time. If you're in the Word Center and you don't have a family Bible study time, then you have not started in the Word Center. The first criteria is that you must have a family Bible study where you sit down and teach the word diligently. And that is why we gave you reading plans. The reading plans were curated for busy parents, because we truly understand you're busy. So we brought out some key points so that once you teach it, then it hits the child. We have the book of Proverbs for this session, and we have Visa to the Next PhD, Basics of Life Planning. It is meant for you to sit as a family and then for you to talk about it. So you're teaching it diligently. It doesn't have to be rushed. It could be 10 minutes every day, or 3 times or 4 times a week, but it has to be diligently taught. Not that you go and open one devotional that you don't understand, and you just know. You are teaching from the head. So that is why we gave you all those resources. So many of you bought the resources, but you've never opened it up. You bought Basics of Life Planning, you bought Kool-Aid, but you're not using it. And some of you don't even know what you're meant to do with it. You're meant to sit down now, so that you don't think I'm teaching from my head. It's actually a command. He said, these commands which I've given you today, get it into your own heart, and talk about it wherever you're sitting at home. Talk about it when you're sitting at home. So when you have your family Bible study, you share the word. If you think it's not necessary, the enemy is sharing, their peers are sharing, everybody is sharing. So you talk about it when they are seated at home. He says, repeat them again and again. And that is why he said, repeat them again and again to your children. That is why when we share a video, the next day we're sending a video of the same thing in a different format. For 3-4 days, we're sending the same video, but in different formats. The same video, but in different formats, so that they can hear it again and again. It's a command from the Bible. So don't take it for granted. Oh, what's the type of people? These people, they can disturb. We're not disturbing. We're only fulfilling our mandate to the next generation. And we need you to work with us. Because we can't do this alone. We can't do this alone. They stay more with you than with us. And that is why we go out of our way to bring out all the resources. So repeat it again and again. When we say do this, write in your journal, go through your journal on Wednesday, we're trying to make them repeat and we're trying to practice this command. It's a spiritual training, it's a spiritual parenting practice. Talk about it when you're sitting in your house, family Bible study. Talk about it when you're lying down. That is when we introduce the Give Me the Word. Now, because of time this night, I cannot share the Give Me the Word. Please, if you're a new parent especially, and you don't have this book, The Basic Standard for Millennium Parenting, please, you need to get it because of time. Or you go and watch the videos on YouTube. Or we have a YouTube session we dramatize this whole thing. If you've never seen the video, please, I want to encourage you, go and get the video. Watch, it's just a 10 minutes or 7 to 12 minutes video. Watch it so that you can have the full benefit, okay? Then the next thing is tie it as a symbol in your hand. Whatever is a symbol in your hand is something that was very interesting to you. What is not interesting in the hand of a child, the child drops it. And hence we talk about the Bible they use. Some of the children still come to class with King James Bible. How can you give a 9-year-old King James Bible? How can you give a 12-year-old King James? How can you give a 14-year-old King James Bible? It's hard. It's hard. So give them interesting Bibles. I've recommended NIRV, NIV, GNT. Then they can have it as a symbol always tied to their hand. Is very important. So if you're a new parent, it's very important, please. Okay. Then there's something we call. Then the last paragraph says, write them on the door frames of your house. That is where we always say, give me the word, paste it in your houses. So many of them do it. So many of you new parents, you do it, you don't even understand. Do you know that what a child sees so much enters them? It's a command, it's not just an activity. It says, write them on the door frames of your house and on your gates. That is why every month, when we pick a lesson, a Bible verse that we're working on, we tell the children, we tell you to print it out and paste it in strategic places so that the children are looking at it and it's entering them. It's a command from God. It might not make sense to you. It might not make sense to us. It might not make sense to the children. But God that has commanded that we should write it and paste it on our gates, there's something that He's saying. There's something that He's saying. He knows that what you look at for so long enters you. Imagine and then some of you old parents, you started, but now you're like, it's not working. It works. My children have grown, they've left home, but we still talk about it. I still say to them, what word are you using this week? Paste your word in your locker, in your bedroom, in the university where you are. So remember, what you're doing is a training, so that even when they leave you and they leave home, they already know that they will have their give me the word. They look for how to make these things practical. And then because we have older children, I'm not going to share it now. These principles, please inbox us in the admin so that we can send you the teaching video. I think it's a 7-minute teaching video on how you can apply this principle to your 17-year-old, to your 7-year-old, to your 12-year-old. We have different videos that we have already I've shared on how you can apply this principle so that it's applicable. The way you can apply this principle to your 7-year-old, you're not going to apply to your 5-year-old. You're not going to apply to your 14-year-old. So please request for those videos. Sit down in the comfort of your home and watch and learn. Now we learn about everything because the world is running faster than we know. Then you're not learning anything on parenting. It might be a problem. It might be a problem because the world is changing. God is giving us new ideas. What are we doing with the ideas? It is not enough to dump them here. No, you're not going to get the full benefits. And our burden as parents is that as spiritual teachers, is that every child that comes in here is transformed and prepared as an end-time soldier. But remember, you can override that with your attitude, with how much effort you put, and with how you see what you think is important in the life of the child. No matter how much we pour in, God has already said it, that the parents have spiritual authority. So we need you to understand that a lot depends on you, okay? So what do we do? What are we doing now at the Word Center that we want you to now implement?